Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank the College for Social Work and also for organizing this workshop, and also thank John and Hillary for inviting me to talk to you. I'm a geographer. I'm on the faculty at OSU here. My main area is urban geography and geographic information science and computer mapping. I don't do mainstream social research related to social work, but you will see some of the stuff we have been working on during the past 5 years may have some relevance to you. Also, when I received this invitation under short notice, I agreed immediately because deep down in my mind, I always admire the work done by social workers. And my daughter and I, whenever we can, we have volunteered in local community. So my first slide is kudos to all the social workers, because everything you do on a daily basis made a difference to the vulnerable population in society across the world. So I have lots of slides. Hopefully I will finish within the time frame allotted to me. So very loosely, I want to cover 4 topics. Can you hear me okay in the back? Good. So that I don't like it to use a microphone. So first I will talk about, give you a broad brush overview of crowdsourcing as a general trend in society, and then how that potentially has transformed the social work, especially using the work that my group and I have been working on during the past 5 years, funded by National Science Foundation, mainly in the area related to what we call the volunteer geographic information. If you haven't heard that technical jargon yet, don't worry, I will explain to you what it means. Hopefully it will resonate to you in some way. And then I will use our work to sort of discuss what are the problems and challenges if we want to use crowdsourcing as a strategy to transform social work. And my goal is really to look forward, moving forward, what sort of interdisciplinary collaborations we can do down the road. So I'm here on campus. If any of you are interested in talking to me, by all means afterwards. So crowdsourcing, if you look it up, here's what the Wikipedia's definition is. A modern business term coined only 10 years ago, approximately in 2005, is referring to obtaining needed services, ideas, content by soliciting contributions from large group of people, usually from an online community. So rather than from the traditional employees or suppliers. So it's before crowdsourcing, the trendy thing in the business world was outsourcing. The relocation of some of the functions or services in the supply chain to the developing world. So it's really a combination of crowd and outsourcing. It's also, for those of you who have followed this trend, Wikipedia itself is a great, one of the primary examples of crowdsourcing, one of the successful stories of crowdsourcing. So, and again, since this term was coined by the business people, and it has really caught on. It's becoming viral. There's this website. By the way, I will share my PowerPoint with all the participants, so you don't need to take any notes. This wonderful website listed all the Fortune 500 companies. From P&G to McDonald's, everybody you can possibly think of, they have used crowdsourcing as a new business strategy. And so, the lingo these days is from the open business models to what people, some of the economists call Wikinomics. So that's the way, how to run business. There are lots of exciting examples. So one of my favorite examples, for example, the design of airplanes. If you visit like a newairplane.org, it's fascinating. Initially, when I bumped into that website, I said, who would have time to think about design airplanes. I know, the folks that set up that website with the Boeing Corporation. It's a part of their marketing team. Airbus people laughed at them. They said nobody would care use that web. And to everybody's surprise, the 3 million people actually participated in the design. We now know as Boeing 787. It used to be 7E7. So they designed, from the luggage compartment to seats to the bathroom. It's all based upon this, 3 million people's contribution. And again, this website has, I just showed you, has multiple, over. If you look at the bar at the bottom, it's starting basically the last 5 years up to earlier this year. All the major successful crowdsourcing stories. But here, what I would like to emphasize is, although it's the term crowdsourcing only existed in the literature for less than 10 years, but it has a long history. The idea itself is not new. It can go back at least year 1714. All the geographers know the longitudinal prize. It was initially issued by the British government to basically ask the crowd who can ever solve, at that time known as one of the major scientific puzzles, who can locate a shape in the middle of the sea based on latitude, will get a certain prize. And of course, as expected, lots of different people have contributed ideas, and in less than 3 years, the longitudinal problem solved. In hindsight, it was through a crowdsourcing approach. Now let's fast forward. I think the crowdsourcing is not simply as a new business model or a trend in industry. It has spilled over to, as far as I can tell, almost every aspect of society. So crowdsourcing is really a much broader, not only has a long history, but also has become a major societal trend. It doesn't matter. I started my talk talking about the new business model, but if you look at the science, in the scientific research, in education, in entertainment and politics, and journalism, everywhere I look, I see the general idea. Maybe people using different terms, but it's all the idea involving traditionally called Web 2.0. I know my friend he has talking about 3.0 or Industry 4.0 these days, but I still like the original idea of 2.0, mainly to involve the general public to participate, to contribute. So for example, like this website, some of you may have heard, called SETI at Home. SETI stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Life at Home. So basically, it's a crowdsourced astronomy project. So I know a good friend who is an insurance agent in Houston. He sells car insurance during the day, but his hobby in the evening at home is to search for extraterrestrial life. The guy has 5 computers. It really keeps him busy. There are millions of people all over the world. You can download. It's kind of fun, but I haven't followed up what's the latest about to whether they have found life in Mars or not. But it's a fascinating project. And also another of one of my favorite projects that really promoted what is known as citizen science is this eBird project by Cornell ornithologists. It's tapped into people's habit. In North America, there's this Christmas bird watching crowd. It used to be an individual habit. People go out after a big holiday meal and his family members watch birds and do some recording. But for 100 years, that's it. And then this group of ornithologists at Cornell said, how about we set up a website asking people to voluntarily contribute whatever they observe? And that has really changed how data is collected. And here's what the latest, in terms of, they contributed, Cornell ornithologist has at its peak has 3 faculty and 1,000 graduate students. In terms of collecting data, watching birds that you can see, it's very limited. But with that website, they mobilized in terms of contributions, 500 million of records of contributions from all over the world contributed to what they called this Global Biodiversity Information Facility, GBIF. That's really impressive. So not only contributed to the data collection, but what emerged from the Science 2.0 is this the so-called citizen science. It's harness passion and expertise from contributors, citizens all over the world. They contribute, those volunteers contribute, make contributions, and usually the organizer contributes tools to provide some basic protocol training, and they address the data collected that are capable of addressing large-scale scientific issues that researchers previously, they cannot even fathom, And of course, during this process, it promoted the environmental awareness, conservation of biodiversity, and also scientific literacy in general. It's really a win-win situation. But if you look at it more broadly, I think the idea is these days, if you look at the entertainment industry, especially TV program. So what's the idea to think is I'm sure some of you are love watching Survivor, American Idol, or Dancing with Stars. It's basically crowdsourcing. It's involve the audience to be part of the cast of the program, and it's more fun. These days, whenever I travel across the Atlantic or across the Pacific, I turn on TV. It's like, although they are in different languages, I notice they are almost every country has some sort of a version of American Idol or Dancing with Stars. In China, actually, the American Idol, the Chinese version of American Idol is called the Supergirl, and in less than 15 months, they attracted a viewing audience of over 100 million, and that's really gained the top government's attention, because they thought they may evolve into a political movement, so they unfortunately shut it down. They are banned because everybody's voting on cell phone and they're connected. They thought, how about, they were so afraid that those Supergirl audience could organize politically. So also citizen journalism, it doesn't matter where you look, these days, citizens, everybody pretty much has a cell phone with a high resolution camera, they can snap photos, report stories, and they have supplemented, become a supplementary source for major news organization. For example, just happened about 9 days ago, that chemical explosion in Tianjin. The government has been controlled the state media, but the citizens in social media have contributed. So I, at least, because this is my research area, I watched what people have posted. I pieced together a much better picture in terms of what's going on the ground based upon citizen journalism, politics. Last. We are still, we already started with 2016. Everybody is geared up, gung-ho for the Republican and Democratic primary. But learned from what happened to 2012, about 3 years ago. If you have paid attention to what's happening in social media, who has mobilized more crowd, you can easily predict the results. So it's also, I talked to some of the political scientists, they are using the term precision politics. In addition to, it's related to crowdsourcing, mobilize voters, not only to vote, but also make a financial contribution. So now, that's the broader context. Crowdsourcing, although this is only 10 years, the term, but it's a long history, and it has gone viral. It's penetrating almost all aspects of society. And in my own field, it triggered what we call the geospatial revolution, because each cell phone that you are carrying in your pocket has a GPS chip if you, depending on how you configure your phone, but generally somewhere somebody will know where you are, and if you are willing, based upon your posting, they know not only where you are, when, and what you're doing to some extent. And that has become a major data source in my field, but transformed what we do. So it's part of my title, the Volunteer Geographic Information, that we have been funded by National Science Foundation during the past 5 years. So basically, through the crowdsourcing, we have acquired a vast amount of geographic information, acquired and made available to others through voluntary activities of individuals and groups. And there are lots of different terminologies that are being used: user-generated content, collective intelligence, asserted information, neo-geography, geo-web, spatial media, and but it's really made, the VGI stuff is made possible by the convergence of Web 2.0, spatial search engine, GPS, smartphone, and social media. So our work is related. I'm sorry. Thank you. I will give you a quick overview about the VGI work. I know my friend Ming will talk about his groundbreaking work related to social media. So another term sometimes we call this process is also the so-called wikification, but generally it's not just for collective mapping, but when I talk about wikification, I'm referring to mass collaboration for a worthy cause on a voluntary basis on anything. So we have an edited volume. If you're interested in any of the technical details, I would be more than happy to share you a copy of this book. So here's some of the examples in terms of contributors all over the world, cross-sourcing geographical knowledge by making volunteered geographic information available. Basically, people from all walks of life, different ages, across the race, age, gender, and education level, people have been mobilized to contribute geographic information as a part of the broader mapping project in a variety of settings. One of the most famous example is that being reported by mainstream media such as New York Times and the Washington Post is this effort called OpenStreetMap.org. It's started by a graduate student, Steve Coates, who has a master's degree, graduated from University College in London. So his initial goal when he first started this in 2003 was to update all the street maps through volunteers all over the world. Again, at that time, I raised my eyebrows because I was a visiting professor during that time. I thought that won't work. And then 5 years later, I have to confess that how wrong I was. Because the website not only mobilized the millions of people all across the world are contributing, but one of the successful applications is, after the Haiti earthquake. The United Nations volunteers and a lot of social workers rushed into Port-au-Prince, and they discovered no spatial data infrastructure, no maps. They don't know where to go, where are the victims. And within less than 36 hours, it's volunteers all over the world that, based upon the latest satellite imagery, and they were able to produce a detailed map like this. When former President Clinton arrived on the scene, he and also the volunteers organized through the Clinton Foundation with the local government were able to give them those maps, for Haiti, all made by volunteers all across the world. It's a great story. You can easily Google it out, the Open Map story. Another sort of VGI website that requires a little bit more technical training is this website called SafeCast. It requires special equipment, also some training. because this website basically asks volunteers to do some measurement about the radioactive stuff in their neighborhood and then upload. So you have to follow certain protocols in order to do it right. And again, after the tsunami in Japan, some of the nuclear facilities were badly damaged. Again, this website, the information collected through this website basically, again, provided a more realistic picture than the data released by the Japanese government. Also, in the spirit of full disclosure, I'm one of the academic advisors behind this U.S. This government sponsored by the State Department, by the humanitarian unit called the MapGate. It's basically based upon Google Maps, but involving the volunteers in countries all over the world for humanitarian aid, providing map services. This is a great project. In the last year, there is this disappearance of Malaysian flight 370. During the rescue effort, I don't know whether you paid attention or not. Digital Globe set up a website. They provide like a daily high-resolution satellite images. At the peak, about 3 million volunteers all over the world help combing through scene by scene in the Indian Ocean, in the part of the Pacific Ocean, to see whether there are any shred of evidence for wreckages. And if you follow up this story, we still do not know the full story yet. But about 2 weeks ago, again, some local residents and citizens find part of the wing, and it has been verified by European researchers. It's a part of a Boeing 777. So it's part of this device. So we know it's crashed, but we don't know exactly what happened. And also during the past 5 years or so, the volunteers' geographic information has really been merging rapidly with social media. So thus becoming this big data deluge. So spatial big data is a trendy thing. So as a result, this, about 10 years ago, if you look at Google Maps, you get a traditional map, for example, for Columbus, major transportation network. But if you do Google Maps right now, you will, if you know to turn all the bells and whistles on, you will get geo-tagged photos, videos, text, the social activities. And so this is a different kind of map than we know. So, and the Google's mantra has been Google Maps equals Google in Maps. Think about it. So what they're very ambitious. What they are trying to do is, as long as your stuff posted online has a geotag, you can always search it through Google Maps and immediately visualize it to show where that particular item you are looking for is located. Isn't that amazing? So Google Maps equals to Google Maps. So basically, all the online tagged information is part of an entity that can be mapped and spatially analyzed. Here's just some quick examples of the mapping the outbreak of Ebola based upon Twitter. For my own work, my students and I have been using the location-based social media data to analyze the air quality, the smog issue for Chinese cities. Again, it's already everything published. I would be happy to send you the paper. Again, it's all started with this device. If you have visited Beijing recently, you will notice that it's mounted on the roof of the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. Okay? If you following the Vienna diplomatic protocol, that compound, the U.S. Embassy in Beijing, is part of U.S. territory. So, in theory, the U.S. Embassy can do whatever they want within that compound following the U.S. law, because that's U.S. territory. So, what they did is they installed this device. It's certified by US EPA to measure the 2.0 PM 2.5, the macro pollutants in the air. But here's the story, what happened. About 4 years ago, on one particular day, this is the reading according to the US Embassy. For your information, according to US EPA standard, if the PM 2.5 is above 50, it's hazardous to human health. But according to the US Embassy's reading, this is the number. But the Beijing municipal government is issued their reading, their PM 2.5 is about 120. And it's actually 4 times higher. And somebody posted the US Embassy reading in social media, Weibo, which is the equivalent of Twitter in the US here. That's what it triggered. It's gone spiral. And they not only checked out the readings in Beijing, but also they checked like the U.S. General Consulate in Shanghai, in Guangzhou, and they compared, the U.S. Diplomatic posts reading versus what. So on the average, it's somewhere at least twice as high, which. This time the netizens, social media in China have really rallied, behind this phenomenon. Something apparently is going on. The government is not telling the truth. So there have been 10 weeks of intensive discussion. So we harvested, the Weibo data. We mapped what they have been talking about to keep the social network, who are the major opinion leaders, who is following whom, and map out their spatial distribution, and all the social connectedness of the social network in this campaign to hold the government more accountable. And here's the result, that the people, because of the public pressure mounted by social media, the Chinese government finally passed actually a new national law requiring all major cities, all the 653 Chinese cities, set up instruments to not only monitor the PM 2.5 level, but also broadcast it honestly to the general public. And I see this is a major victory in terms of started by the grassroots, basically not organized. It's basically social media users, but they really changed. 5 years ago, if you ask the general public, nobody knows. Even educated people knows what is PM 2.5. But nowadays, not only everybody knows, and everybody is doing their fair share to press the government to make some changes. I know the air pollution problems are still pretty severe. It's really threatening people's health. The World Bank's recent report is the Chinese life expectancy, urban residents, the life expectancy reduced by somewhere between 5 to 10 years due to the heavily polluted air. So there's still a long way to go, but at least this is a good start. And also in terms of the transforming the way how maps are made. So we have cross-source the software, cross-source the data is the main thing. Also shared hardware. Also, there's a new way of volunteering in my community called the GIS volunteer, GIS Core. Basically, so if you have, because some of the mapping stuff requires some technical expertise for this audience of this I know I'm preaching to the choir, but for my field, that's kind of a new thing that you can volunteer your expertise to help the vulnerable communities all over the world. And so through this website, GIS Core, people, thousands of people these days have been volunteering, traveling all over the world to help local communities. It's a great service. That's why GIS is my field. Nowadays, it stands for Giving International Services. And here is the story. I was at Texas A&M for 16 years before I moved to Ohio State. John, thank you. That's why when you say greeting, welcome you all, it you really feel at home. but shortly after I moved to Dublin, Ohio, I just discovered, to my surprise, that one of the founders of a GIS Core, this lady, actually is my neighbor in Delaware. She was the GIS manager for Delaware County, Saria Al-Sami. She's now, her new job is the GIS manager for the city of Columbus. So I wasted no time. I meet her, I I didn't realize that she was just a couple streets down. And she has been continuing, besides her day job, she has been continuing to run this wonderful organization in the evening. And the people have been organizing parties on the streets to do the math. So like about 5-10 years ago, it's a mapping parties, but the latest trend is called geo-hackathon. Have you heard of that term? Basically, it's a crowdsourcing, but instead of doing everything online, now they meet in person and have a great party, and at the same time get some problem hacked or resolved. So. Another interesting thing that my students and I have been studying on is this new economy. It's evolved through the crowdsourcing, but this is a new business model, the so-called sharing economy. I'm sure most of you have used Uber, but I don't know whether you have thought about deeply what it means. So what are the supporting technology and the concepts behind it? It's Airbnb, Zipcar, bike share, Netflix, all these things behind it. There are some meta pattern or meta business models. They all share in common, and it's a part of the peer to peer sharing. I'm going to. Toward the end, I'm going to talk about all the implications of the sharing economy and the supporting technology behind it. Is really location-based services or location-based social media, because for the first time in human history, we can know precisely in real time. That's how make Uber success. That such a successful business venture that through a simple platform, we can know in real time who can provide a ride and who needs a ride. And you remove the ride, you can, because all of us can be service providers, and also all of us at one point or another during the day or during our life, we will need help on lots of things. So we are simultaneously both consumers and could be service providers. And a platform like Uber has make the meaningful connection. And that has enormous implications for social work. So let me just do a quick summary, transforming society by VGI through crowdsourcing. There are lots of good things that have happened. It's become a valuable data source in low resource area, time-sensitive situation, especially emergency management situations. It promoted transparency in government operations. It changed the new business practices, new business models, and that is also contributed to environmental monitoring via citizen science. But more significantly, I think crowdsourcing has created a subtle culture change that taps to the better angel part of human nature. That is the rejuvenation of a higher level of volunteerism. People are doing this not because they are getting paid or get out of organization, because they are doing it because it makes themselves to be part of something larger than themselves. It matters. It's so deeply meaningful. It's very different from the traditional market-oriented economy, the carrots and the stakes are perched. So, the crowdsourcing or Wikitification process has really, during the process, blurred the boundaries of all different kinds. In the business world, used to be the sharp distinction between producer and consumer. Now, the trendy thing all the business leaders are talking about is a prosumer. I don't know whether you like that word or not, but also in many traditional domains, we have expert and amateur actor and audience in the TV shows and professors and students. And these days, those boundaries have been blurred. At least they have been shifted in unexpected, in interesting ways. And that's how I told my colleagues, in the higher education, we have to be strategic and think ahead of time, unless we make some meaningful changes. Otherwise, the stake is really high. So, just like before I end my talk, I have to alert you that's another area of my research. I study the social impacts of technological innovation. Here's one of the major conclusions I have learned along that line of work. Throughout human history, we as a species have never ever solved any problems through technical solutions without creating new ones. So like any other technical solutions, crowdsourcing has its own unintended consequences. So it's not all good. So there's some dark side of crowdsourcing. For example, there's a website called Subvert the Profit. They doing all these sort of interesting things, especially during the political campaign. And also, there's this phenomenon called the online water army. So these are paid staff, seemingly to be volunteers, but they're really paid staff, but they are making the flame, either help a particular company or cause, post articles, replies through all different kinds of online social media. And so you have to be mindful whenever you're using a crowdsourcing approach. It can be easily abused. Of course, the biggest concern as far as the federal government is concerned is this open source jihad. That is how the terrorist organizations have been mobilizing social media for their cause. And for example, the big headache right now for U.S. federal government is ISIS. I was a part of a review team that reviewed this report by the American Heritage Foundation on ISIS Twitter census. This is a very impressive report, because ISIS as a group, they were able to use Twitter to recruit followers, doing all different sort of things and the growth. That's why it's so, look at the jump in terms of their followers from 2013 to the end of last year. That's really astonishing. And also, we were able to, because of the geotag, to find out where they're located to do a precise mapping. If we want to deal with this group, we have to know where they are located. But here is what I found is a little bit complicated. That there were enormous financial report for ISIS. So besides the horrible things that executions they have done, in front of TV camera crews that we all have seen, I have colleagues who have done field work in local ground, and to everybody's success, those large number of the ISIS followers on the ground, actually, they are doing lots of social work. They're helping the vulnerable population, the local schools. So on the ground, it's a little bit more complicated story in terms of exactly what they are doing. I think the U.S. government, if they want to deal with this group, they have to gain a clear picture. They obviously feel a picture. That's why otherwise they could not quickly mobilize so much populace and also enormous of financial resources flowing into this organization. So, and here is, as a quick summary, I'm toward to the end of my talk. Here's the bigger picture of the crowdsourcing. It's still dominated by industry, by various government, but as you can see here, in terms of nonprofit social causes, there have been growing in recent years as well. And I believe that crowdsourcing as an approach can potentially transform social work in significant ways. Like websites, like I know many of you are from College of Nursing doing health care related stuff. Like for example, websites like Patients Like Me. There's a it's a crowdsourced social media website for patients. So there's a diabetes group. There's a cancer group. They exchange information, lots of different things. Of course, for all the professionals in the healthcare profession, they also raise their eyebrows because it's also the websites like this raises a lot of interesting legal, ethical issues. Like for example, who is ultimately responsible if two users of this website exchanged information? Because some of the therapy, some of the cures work for me for diabetes, may not necessarily working on you, and they transmit those information via this website, and then if they follow it blindly, the consequences could be fatal. So, and I have listed some of the summarized, if you are interested in using this approach, here's some of the general suggestions in terms of how you can get started. And one of the things is really to motivate people to get your word out. So we particularly focused on what motivates people. And again, we find a variety of different motivations. So starting from self-promotion to sharing with friends to a desire to fill the gaps, of data, technical sense to the really altruistic behavior. That's the better part of human nature. Not surprisingly, it's really corresponds to Maslow's hierarchy of the human needs. So it's all manifested because it's social media or crowdsourcing is a human enterprise. So in a way, it still reflects who we are and what we do. So one thing I have to mention before I close is crowdfunding. Using crowdsourcing as an approach to raise funds for your cause. It's becoming more robust and mature. There are different models here. So generally, there are three models: a donation model, reward model, equity model. So depending on what exactly your goal, you can use the crowdsourcing. And there are so many crowdfunding platforms. Crowdwise, Kickstart. I know OSU Research Office is experimenting Kickstart to raise funds for various research projects. I think for social work, if you customize your message to the right audience, I strongly believe that those crowdfunding can make an enormous difference towards your cause. So. Finally, one take-home idea, sort of a homework, a challenge for all of you, for me as well, is I read an article in Harvard Business Review recently. The guy was talking about that there is an urbanization of business. And I was thinking about urbanization of society, and also for social work. What do you think? And like this, a particular driver, so he has a Uber sign, a sidecar, and also lift. So I guess these three jobs will keep him busier than a taxi driver. So through crowdsourcing and the future of social work, I think a more ambitious goal is really to establish social enterprise. And I commend, salute your work. I think through crowdsourcing, we can make a difference and really redefine what is possible in terms of helping the vulnerable population in society, whatever the reason, the causes may be. So again, so to reiterate my admiration and salute for all the work you do, I would like to end my talk by sharing with you one of my favorite crowdsourcing project. I think this is also, I will use this as a tribute for all the social workers. It's by this composer, musician, Eric Whittaker. Has any of you heard about it? Okay, here's what he does. He directs the virtual choir. So he produced a musical video through crowdsourcing based upon videos that made by contributors from over 100 countries, like a total of 8,000 videos, 6,000 singers, all over 100 countries, and plus photos from all over the world. The song was called Fly to Paradise. Can I show it just to give you a flavor? I would encourage you to Google it yourself to watch the whole thing. But to end my talk, I think I have 30 seconds to just give you a to end my talk. And also that's my tribute to all of you. This is a virtual choir. Can we turn the music a little bit louder? Can you hear it? That's it. I think my time is up. I think you get the flavor. Yeah, that's my tribute to all of you as social worker. Thank you.